Okay, picture this. Out in the Saudi Arabian desert, they're carving this perfectly straight line into the sand. And no, it's not a road, it's not some pipeline. It's actually the foundation for what could be the most ambitious and, yeah, controversial building project in all of human history. It's called the line. And trust me, we're going to dive into what makes this whole thing just so mind bending.
So, what is it exactly? Well, we're talking about a single, continuous building that's 500 meters tall. To put that in perspective, that's taller than the Empire State Building, and it stretches for 170 kilometers. That's almost the distance from LA to San Diego. It's basically a mirrored skyscraper city, but laid on its side, just slicing right across the desert and mountains. It's wild.
All right, so to really get our heads around the line, here's what we're going to do. First, we'll look at the grand vision, the blueprint for this seemingly impossible city. Then we're going to look at the cracks in that mirror, and there are some big ones, from the huge challenges to the very real human cost. And finally, we'll tackle the big question. Is this thing a visionary glimpse into our future, or just a massive vanity project?
Okay, so first up, the dream. To really get the line, you have to understand what it's supposed to be. And let me tell you, it's being pitched as nothing less than a total revolution in how we live in cities.
The whole core concept is a city built for people, not cars. Just imagine it for a second. No traffic jams, no pollution, and everything you could possibly need for your day-to-day life, schools, stores, clinics, is all just a 5-minute walk from your front door. It's this vertical city designed to eventually house 9 million people, but on a footprint that is just radically smaller than any traditional city that size.
Why? Why build something so completely audacious? Well, the line isn't just some architectural fantasy. It's the absolute flagship project of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. The whole point here is to build a future for the kingdom that doesn't depend on oil. They want to transform it into a global hub for tech and tourism, and really prove to the world that they can lead in innovation. And believe me, they are putting their money where their mouth is. The line is part of this much bigger development region called NEOM, and it has an initial price tag of, get this, $500 billion. So yeah, this isn't just another construction project. It is a nation-defining gamble with some absolutely immense financial and, frankly, geopolitical stakes. So the big question is, how would a city like this even work? The answer they give is 2 letters, AI, artificial intelligence. The plan is for an AI-operated high-speed train to be the city's backbone, zipping you from one end to the other, all 170 kilometers in just 20 minutes. And inside the neighborhoods, well, you've got autonomous vehicles, smart elevators, even delivery drones, all run by an AI that's constantly optimizing everything for efficiency and sustainability. It's straight out of sci-fi.
Okay, so a utopian vision is one thing. But actually building it, that's a whole other ballgame. So let's take a look at the blueprint. How are they planning to build this impossible city from the ground up?
Yeah, this is not your normal construction site. The whole process starts with this absolutely massive foundation. We're talking deep concrete piles drilled right into the bedrock, so it can handle all kinds of terrain, from hard rock to soft sand. After that, 40 huge skyscraper cores will shoot up, forming the skeleton of the city. Then they connect all those cores with millions of tons of steel before, finally, wrapping the entire thing in that signature mirrored glass.
And here's a perfect example that just illustrates the insane scale of the challenges they're facing. Just to get the ground ready near the coast, the engineers had to build one of the largest dewatering systems ever. I'm talking about 500 wells, all drilled just to constantly pump out salty groundwater. Why? Because if they didn't, that water would just eat away at the steel and concrete foundations over time. Mind-boggling.
I mean, the engineering is undeniably impressive. You can see it in satellite photos. The massive trench is already being dug. But that brings us to the bigger question, right? Can a project this radical ever truly become a real functioning city?
All right, so now we have to pivot. We've talked about the dream. Now let's talk about the reality. Because for all of its futuristic promise, the line is facing some absolutely enormous environmental and financial hurdles.
A huge selling point is how sustainable the city is supposed to be. But that promise, it's being seriously questioned. For starters, that 170-kilometer mirrored wall sits directly on a major migratory bird path. And to give you some context, it's estimated that similar glass buildings in North America are responsible for up to 1 billion bird deaths every single year. And that's not all. Then you have the glare.
We've all seen stories about buildings like London's walkie-talkie that basically act like a giant magnifying glass, concentrating sunlight so intensely it literally melted parts of a car. And it seems like some of these practical realities are starting to set in. The original vision, remember, was for the full 170 kilometers. But now, well, official plans say that by 2030, the goal is to complete just 2.4 kilometers. Let me say that again. 2.4 kilometers. That's only about 1.4% of what they originally planned. And then there's the money, the cost. According to some reports, the projected price tag has just ballooned to a truly astronomical figure, $8.8 trillion. A number that big, naturally, has a lot of people asking some very serious questions about whether this project is even financially sustainable in the long run. Okay, but beyond the environmental and financial costs, there's another side to this story, a darker one, and it's about the project's human cost. There are some deeply serious allegations here, detailed in a report from the human rights organization IDLTV, which they call the dark side of Neom.
See, a lot of the promotional material for Neom describes the land as virgin or unpopulated, but the report from Alcos directly challenges that narrative. They state that this area has actually been the home of the Huaywa tribe for centuries.
The report goes on to document allegations of forced evictions to clear the way for the project. And the most serious incident it details is truly tragic. The killing of a resident named Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti back in 2020. He had been protesting the evictions online. According to Al-Qust, he was killed during a raid on his home by Saudi special forces. And for those who resisted, the legal consequences have been incredibly severe. The ALQST report says it has verified that at least 15 members of the tribe were sentenced to prison, with terms ranging from 15 to 50 years. And it gets even more serious. The report also says that at least 5 other tribe members have been sentenced to death. So all of this really brings us to the central conflict, the core question about the line. Is it this bold, incredible vision for the future of humanity, or is it a profoundly flawed and maybe even dangerous vanity project? I mean, on one hand, you have this incredible promise, right? A revolutionary AI-powered city that could solve the problems of pollution and urban sprawl. But on the other hand, you have what looks like a cautionary tale, a project facing massive practical challenges, huge environmental risks, and a development that is allegedly being built on forced displacement and very severe legal crackdowns. Ultimately, the real answer is still being written out there in the sand. But as those excavators dig deeper, you can be sure the entire world is watching. We're all waiting to see if this incredible line in the desert becomes the blueprint for the future of our cities, or if it just ends up being the world's most expensive mirage.